Hello there, girls and boys. So we are finally live. I have here with me the amazing Felix. He's a friend of mine and he's a really talented musician. As you can see, he's full of energy, as he should. And today, in this new episode of the Sound Alchemy podcast, we're going to be discussing several things. Because before we went live, we were discussing about what we should be talking about in front of you, girls and boys, and we already have people here. So say hello to Carlos Arispe. He's a friend of mine, and he's a fan of the band, and I am quite glad that he's been supporting us for so many years. So Carlos, say hello to Felix. So now here's the deal. Felix, can you tell us a little bit about you as a musician and how you ended up in this crazy world of music?
Well, long story short, just like everyone, I started playing guitar as a young teenager. Rock band through high school, rock band through my 20s. And then, you had to work, pay bills. So you got out of the rock band kind of thing because, that whole situation. And then probably about 15 years ago, I started recording on the computer, just like everybody else, get your little computer. And then started making my own music in my room kind of thing, just like everybody else way back in 2006 and beyond. And I just basically just recorded tons and tons of songs from about 2006 to 2013. I was producing bands. I was just local bands in the area, nothing crazy, nothing famous, no gold plaques or anything. Yet.
That's just as a little parenthesis. Just give me a second. For those of you who are not familiar with this, in 2007 or around 2007 and 2008, that was the rise of the digital revolution when it comes to the recording industry, which means that for the first time ever, having access to the tools required for record making, it was open for basically everybody that had a kind of okay computer, pun intended, if you know what I'm trying to say. But you get the point. So we got access as not only producers but also musicians had access to the tools needed to record to make a record. So that's something that happened also to me, but in a completely different way. So continue talking about you, Felix.
Yeah, and I'm sure probably for the vast majority of musicians in our generation, the same thing happened. But right around 2013, I don't know if I ran out of steam or if I just said, you know what, I don't know, burnt out, writer's block, however you want to name it. Then I took up another hobby, which is photography. So I did photography from 2014 to 2009. I literally one day I said, done. I'm going back to my music. So, I picked up a couple of guitars, and because I didn't really pick up my guitar for the longest time. And then I just this energy was like, I'm going to go back into it. And, especially too with the way streaming is, it's so so easy to get your music out there. Now, is it easy for millions of people for it to be heard? No, it's probably just as difficult, or even harder, but at least the barrier to entry is pennies, literally pennies.
It is. And I was talking with a friend of mine, he's also a musician, and he was wondering how to put his music on the major streaming services. And he was shocked when I showed him how easy it is and how inexpensive it is as well. But the thing is that he was more concerned about the fact that it required money rather than the fact that it was so easy, which means that now himself, his competition, everybody and their mothers have access to the same tools and have access to outputting their music on the same platforms as everybody else's, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But the trick, as everything in life and as everything in human history as a whole, it's all about communication and portraying yourself and reaching the right audience, because that's how civilization is made.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part is, if, like you said, if everybody's doing it, if this is a graph of everybody, where are you? How do you stand out? And that's the hard part, because I know people. I mean, there's tons of people on YouTube that literally just make music from their iPad, and they release it from their iPad.
Yeah,
and it's like, you couldn't do that 4, 5, 6 years ago. Maybe you could, but barely.
Yeah, and nothing close to what a final record should sound like. It was more like how can I put it,
a good demo.
Exactly. It was more on the draft side. Yeah, it was just a good demo. So yeah. But now this is bringing us to this situation because without trying to get into this whole infection, because I don't even know if it would be safe for us to use the right term on this podcast, because to be honest, we have the big brother watching over us every single tournament we make. This thing is gonna change the game and the panorama of the rock industry, not only the rock industry but the music industry as a whole. Because before we had this conversation, I was doing some research, and it was interesting to see that there are so many of the music gurus and marketing gurus already talking about how the current situation is gonna impact the live business, the live show business side of the industry, because. Right, yeah. Nowadays, I don't know how the situation is at the moment in many of the countries in the world, but at least on this side of the world, here in Europe, we don't have access to traveling. It's kind of stopped, and the same applies in America, isn't it?
It depends. Here in the States, they're actually opening it back up. I think what's happening here is they're realizing, hey, this is like the flu.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? This is crazy. Why are we locking down the country for this minuscule amount of people who are either getting infected or even dying from it? So they're still sorting out the numbers from the health organizations.
Yeah.
Because they gave us all these scary numbers, but now reality is hitting. So it could be one or two ways. It could be a total shift on the live sector, or it could say, you know what, we learned from this.
Yep.
We're not going to go so crazy lockdown and 6 feet apart and all that craziness.
Yeah,
I hope not, because that's insanity.
It is, and at least it's good to hear that people on the other side of the world are starting to change their minds regarding the approach that it has been given to this situation. But the main point of this article that I was reading was how this means that in the later part of next year, 2021, there is going to be a huge renaissance of live music, because people are going to be starving for live music, because we're going to be the butt of any form of gigging for at least the next 18 months. So
yes.
So that would be a great opportunity.
I think for probably even big musicians and little guys like me, starting to do more live on social platforms, and making it exclusive. Yep. So probably you're going to start to see more. And instead of me being in my room studio / I might go somewhere more presentable and maybe have different camera angles.
Yeah.
So in the future that's going to happen. But I think I heard I forgot there was someone who was charging $1.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Okay. You saw that?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were charging $1. They started off charging $1. They played in their room or they played in their studio, and then they said, okay, I'm going to get better lights, better camera angles, and then they started charging $2 for a live performance. But you multiply that by, let's say, if you have, 500 people watching, 1,000 people watching.
Yeah,
that's not bad for a big guys or little guys. Now, if you're a huge guy, imagine you have a 500,000 people watching to charge $1.
That's where the money is.
$500,000 just.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, if that's like a new avenue that no one ever thought of, then hey, then
yeah, and for everyone. I think this is going to mark the first steps into the next revolution, because once again, the same what happened with the Spotify and Apple Music and all the streaming services. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen with the live environment as well, because now having access to a proper streaming rig is not even that it doesn't require that much money. It's kind of inexpensive in a way. Mm-mm. And the knowledge required for it it's not even that much anymore. We are seeing the same thing that happened with technology required for making music. It's happening now with the streaming situation. It's becoming simpler and easier and easier. Even now, just the mere fact that we're having this conversation over on Instagram, and we have amazing. You can see it, Felix, but we have animated stuff. We have lower thirds, and we have all sorts of shenanigans happening at the same time. So. And I can do it. Yeah. Even me in the middle of Ireland can do it. So just imagine, the sky is the limit. So now that's where things are heading into, I guess.
But I wanted to point one thing out. there is nothing that will ever take the element of being at a live show.
Exactly.
Whether it's a small gig or whether it's an arena,
Yep.
the energy that comes out from the people playing to the speakers, it's irreplaceable compared to a screen.
Totally. And actually, you hit the nail on the head, because for those of you who are not familiar with what we do here on Bardon Music, Girls and Boys, most of the time, well, not most of the time, but we have the YouTube channel, and in there I am showing you all of the tricks that we use to create our music. And I'm trying to put it in the simplest way as possible. Not because I am insulting your intelligence. It's not because of that. It's because I want to make sure that it's open for everybody. Because nowadays we have access to these amazing tools, and it's a shame that not that many people are using them to its fullest. But the idea is that now we can see everything that happens behind the door, without even having to put to you know what I mean, right? So this is a huge opportunity. Yeah. This is a breakthrough moment.
No, I definitely think it is, and I think there's going to be a lot of people who, let's just say they're introverts.
Yep.
They're going to be doing the live shows here, and depending on what side of the country you live in, how strict they are with, public performances, things like that. That's going to change. But my hope, my honest hope, is that it will go back to normal.
Exactly.
And at the same time, there will be a lot of people utilizing the live performances, but there's nothing that can replace, hey, let's, you and your friends, or you and a date going out and watching some bands, or going to a concert.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, because the thing is that,
it's one thing to play it as loud as you can in your headphones,
but you don't have the same energy exchange. I'm not trying to sound like a hippie, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Because there is something magical that happens every single time there is a live performance. Because we as musicians, at least from my experience, every single time that I perform, I end up completely drained. I end up without any form of energy after the performance, because I gave it up. I gave everything that I had in my body to the audience, because that's the whole point of the performance. We are making this exchange of energies. And since my background is a music producer, I've been doing this for ever since I can remember, professionally speaking. Every single time that I had to deal with a new artist, or whenever I am leading a new production, the first thing that I had to tell to the artist is that the whole point of making a record is just to try to encapsulate the live experience as close as possible. That's the reason why we have all of those tools and shenanigans and all of those nice, needy tricks that we use in the music. Connection with drop the connection.
Yeah, we got a little rough spot.
Yeah. Let me see. We should be back now. Okay, let me see. Can we confirm if we are back? Can you help me with that, Felix, please? Just.
For me, it was just kind of choppy.
Yep.
It never went away. It
Okay,
was choppy.
So it's still working. This is gonna be fun.
But you want to probably repeat the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, probably. Okay. So what I was saying is that whenever I'm dealing with a new artist, or whenever I'm working alongside a new artist, producing a new material, any form of new material, the first thing that I want to make sure is that they understand that whenever you're recording or you're writing music and heading to the studio, the idea is to encapsulate the emotion and the feel of being in front of the audience and performing to them, because we're trying to put the listener right in that position, because it's just smoke and mirrors, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Not to get a little geeky, but I'll get geeky for 1 second. I was just thinking about this. When we're mixing, right, yep, or when we're, we have these two little channels that we're worried about, mm-hmm, right? Two little channels that we have to balance how much boom, but not clipping.
Exactly.
Right? But if we're going to send it to a mastering, we have to lower it. But still the concept. But when we're playing live,
there's no limit.
There's not two little channels.
No.
We have the bass guitar, he can go 100%, the drums, the guitarist, the singer. So that, I think, is what creates that energy.
Yes.
In addition to imperfection, there's perfection in imperfection.
Totally.
That saying, there's an old saying. So.
That's rock and roll.
That's rock and roll. Because in the studio, we're like, we want to get a perfect timing. Yeah. We want to... but in live,
that never happens, and it's part of the charm. And I have this theory. It might be quite far-fetched or ridiculous to some, but that's what I think happens. You know that whenever you are, well, if you look at sound, once again we're heading into geeky territory, girls and boys, so try to get along with me. The thing is that sound itself it's an exchange of energy. Energy is traveling through air. So what happens when you have a really quiet source? It's really a small amount of energy going through the air. But what happens when you have a huge speaker, a gigantic Marshall stack, cranked to the top, going to 11, and you play a freaking power chord? You're not only making a new hole on the atmosphere, but also you're energizing every single member of the crowd just by sheer power of rock and roll. That's
just by sure, yeah.
Exactly. That's the whole point. That's where energy is being exchanged. And you can tell me anything you want, but that's pure science.
No, I hear you. No, that and like that's leads me, or that's what I was saying earlier is there's nothing that can replace live music.
It's impossible.
Which I need to start, working on my chops and doing a little bit of live. I have been.
You'd better, because I have a surprise for you in the next few days. You will see. I don't want to make any announcement yet, but you will see. Okay. I've been cooking this up for a little while now, but it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be huge. You will see.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, back in the old days, when I was a kid, you were a kid. It was the culture to go see live bands Friday and Saturday night, kind of thing. Yeah. And I just don't, it's not the culture anymore. But then again, the music back then, people were more passionate about music. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a teenager, but I don't think, as a teenager, I would post up all of my favorite bands all over everywhere. Everything. It'd be stickers on my guitar, stickers on my skateboard, or posters on my wall. Yeah. My folder was wrapped in it. We were just like obsessed. And now it seems like the music industry, the people nowadays it's just kind of, who's the next one? Who's the next one? It's pretty sad. I don't know how that happened.
It is, and you're making me think, because I think this is partially, and I have no way to prove what I'm about to say, but I think just take it with a gigantic grain of salt. But I think that this is a result of social media, and also the way that we're consuming entertainment nowadays. Let me explain. For example, I can assure you that you have met at least a bunch of kids that their main goal in life, and we're talking about teenagers, they want to become YouTubers instead of becoming a proper musician or a proficient scientist or whatever. They don't, and that being a YouTuber, without being disrespectful to any people who are on the YouTube industry, which even myself, I am starting to get into that industry as well. But there are many guys and girls who are not even talented enough, if you know what I mean. They are just being themselves in front of the camera, and that doesn't require any talent. They were lucky because they got started when YouTube was developing, and there's a huge difference between somebody who is teaching you how to paint a miniature, because we do this, I like to do this, so I'm not a nerd, I like it. So the thing is that this requires talent, and there is a huge difference between somebody who is teaching you how to do it, or who is making a living out of producing content related to miniatures, to someone who is just talking to the camera, sharing you some sort of ridiculous stunt that he's pulling off just because he's trying to attract clicks, which is, that's a huge problem. And we have a new generation growing up trying to shape that kind of lifestyle, which is completely devoid of any form of meaning or talent.
Yeah, I think that's the double-edged sword of technology. That's, as technology gets better, we get dumber. Yeah, as people. It is. And it's no fault. I don't know where the fault is. I don't know if there is a fault or if that's just the reality that we're in. But at least we can, as musicians, I try to be as musically, I don't know, the most musically memorable, the most, I don't know what the word is. I'm trying to find.
But I get you. Because I think that you're trying to say that you want to be as catchy as possible without being a complete sellout.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and but at the same time, I think we were talking earlier. My frame of reference for music is this: kids nowadays, or the generation nowadays, their capacity for understanding, for the depth, is this.
Yeah.
And it's no fault. I don't think it's no fault to their own. It's just there's this funny thing that I wanted to say that I just remembered right now, and I said it before on one of my videos, and it has something to do with the record industry, and it's I don't know if the record executives, if they figured, oh, there's a lot of people who like this cruddy music, so we're gonna sign bands, promote bands and groups to suit these cruddy audiences, low depth. I'm not trying to harp on anyone's music, but that's the reality of it, Or is it that the bands, they just started producing crappy music? Yeah. I don't know. What do you think it is? Do you think that they just, where do you think the shift happened?
This reminds me of something that Frank Zappa said once. He was interviewed, and I'm going to be paraphrasing, and probably I'm going to be butchering exactly the very thing that he said. But I remember that he said that the industry was really good, and it was great when the greedy guys, the greedy old farts, were the ones who were in charge, because they were willing to try something new. They were willing to get into something that wasn't conventional, because there was a chance for it to become a hit. But then, according to what he said, they brought the cool kid into the mix, because they wanted to be hip. They wanted somebody who understood the way of the new generation. They wanted to be cool. They wanted to look like I am thinking about this meme with the old guy getting into going through the high school hall and wearing which one? Okay.
Yeah, Steve Urkel.
That one. Yeah, thank you. That one. So, and he said that was when the problem got started, because instead of promoting music and trying to get new talent, they were just trying to be safe, and as safe as possible, because the new kid was like, I know what people like on the streets, so I'm gonna bring you the things that you need in order to make money. So the owners of the record labels were like, okay, I don't care, I hire you to make decisions for me, so that's what is gonna happen. And bam. This is coming from Frank Zappa, girls and boys, somebody who I respect, and also somebody who was really into the music industry back in the day, because he was also, I think he was part of that famous rock and roll dispute in the court of the United States against the moms from Washington, if I remember correctly, the Washington wives or something like that. Do you remember when they were saying,
no,
okay, I'm gonna try, we should have this conversation later, not today, but some earlier, because if I remember correctly, there were a bunch of wives from several senators of the U.S. Political system, and they were complaining about satanic messages inside of rock and roll music. We're going back, way back to the 80s.
70s or something, right?
Exactly.
Or 70s,
And
okay.
there was this, it was awesome, because you got people, you got in the same courtroom, you got Frank Zappa, you got Dee Snider from freaking Twisted Sister, and all sorts of politicians at the same time, and they were bashing each other.
Yeah,
but, man, the way
Judas Priest, was Judas Priest in that one too?
I think one of them was also involved, because it makes sense. And the way that Frank Zappa and Dee Snider expressed themselves was incredible, man, because all of the old farts and everybody in the court were like, damn it, the Savages are quite educated. How is it possible they are? They were. Well, that those guys are quite intelligent. So there you have it, girls and boys. So that, and I think that's one of the many differences that are happening at this moment with the new music industry. But
also too, MTV. That used to be, it's called music television.
For those of you who are not old enough to know that, MTV, the M stands for music.
Yeah. There was always music. Now it's reality TV shows.
Because I remember back in the day, MTV had some animated shows in the likes of Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy. and there as well. But that was all. That was it. It was just part
That
of.
was it. Yeah.
It was just trying to make to spice up a little bit the whole content of the channel, because it was kind of. You know what I'm trying to say. The thing is that something happened along the lines. I think the last time I checked, I think the downfall of MTV happened during the first years of 2000s, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And
that's funny you say that. I think, for me, my personal music taste in rock music, Linkin Park, they made their last good album in 2002. 2000 was their first album, Hybrid Theory.
Yeah.
And then their
Meteora,
second album
right?
was Meteora.
Yeah.
Yes, 2002. Ever since then, I don't know. There hasn't been anyone who's in the rock music, in the rock industry or genre, who's hit hard. Who's at least mainstream. I don't know anything about underground, unfortunately, but mainstream. If we're talking about mainstream, it's literally. I think. Oh, Paramore. Paramore was probably the only one, and they were like 2007, I think, when that first album came out.
To hit real mainstream recognition. Actually, we're getting a comment here. Ron Snyder is saying that AXS replaced MTV. I'm not familiar with AXS because I'm not from the US, but what do you think about it?
Wait, what's it called?
AXS.
AXS. I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so can you elaborate a little bit more, Snyder, please? Because we are not familiar with any of this.
AXS.
AXS. Could it be like a cable network or something? Or because
could be a cable.
Probably. Yeah, but you're right, because coming back to that stage, to the early 2000s, I think outside of Paramore, I can't remember or can't think. Oh, My Chemical Romance and all of the emo bands that came out.
Yeah, it just went boom.
Yeah, but after that, but boom, totally.
Yeah, like 2000s, early 2000s, maybe to mid 2000s, 2005, 2007.
Yeah.
Basically, Paramore fueled all of the emo bands and everything. But after 2007, 2008, 2009, they were off the map.
Yeah.
There was no more Panic at the Disco. Panic at the Disco, that was 2008, 2007, something crazy like that.
You're right.
Yeah,
and actually, Ronald Schneider, you're right. Rockers are getting old, and new rockers don't have a soul. I totally agree with you. There are very few professional musicians on the rock side of things that are actually outputting music that is meaningful in any way. Nowadays, we're just if we try to find something that is a little bit more like successful, commercially speaking, rock act, you're usually getting the same rehashed, overly produced metal band, on the hardcore kind of things, which are not producing any kind of or pushing the genre further. And also you got the typical commercial rock in the likes of Nickelback, which are just it's rock and roll for soccer moms, man. So,
yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I call that wuss rock. There's this funny thing I call wuss rock is guys in tattoos, leather, chains, piercings, but then they sound like Nickelback. Anyways, not to bag on Nickelback.
No. I know. Those guys.
I'm bagging on Nickelback.
I'm actually talking about Nickelback. I respect those guys, not because I don't have anything wrong to say about those guys, because they're making their business model is working, and that's something that has to be respected. Yeah. And they're making a living, and they have the right to make a living out of what they're doing, as long as it's legal, and they are doing something legal as far as I remember. So sure. We finally got an answer. This is AXS. Sorry, Felix. It's a website. I'm gonna link it. Thanks for the link, Ron Schneider. I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna put it on one of on the following Instagram story, so everybody can take a look, because I wasn't aware of this. So this is a great. Thank you for your input, Ron Schneider. So you were saying, Felix?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of something else that a good gauge for me is how memorable the music used to be. Like on the top of my head, I can probably think of 1,000 songs that I can just hum in my head, the words, everything. And it's like nowadays everything is just I don't know. I'm not trying to but it's not. It's easily forgettable. It's great for the 15-second TikTok and just swipe up. Oh, that was cool, but nothing that is gonna touch your soul. And I'm not trying to get all woo spiritual but
I get you.
Nothing to touch the soul. You know what I mean?
I get you completely, and I think it's because once again we're dealing with this throwaway mentality of this generation. Because you said it completely right. The fact that even something in the likes of TikTok exists. It's a matter of, it's just material for you to start thinking about the whole situation with the world itself. I don't have anything to say about social media because we are using social media at this very moment. But I think that without having any form of proper understanding of how to use it, we are starting to see a decline in culture in general, and that's not only hurting this music industry of ours, but also it's hurting culture itself and art itself. So we, the musicians, and you, the fans, we should work together. That's the reason why we're having this podcast. The very reason why we decided to start this interaction is because this is a breakthrough moment, girls and boys. This is the moment in which the music industry is gonna change completely. This is the first time ever in history that the musicians have access to you, and the same goes the other way around. And we can have this human connection, even though we're relying on machines for it to happen. We are having something that never happened before. So this is a great opportunity. This is a moment that is going to mark our careers forever.
Yeah, it's so funny. You know, I just started this account in February.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the advice that I am hearing is connect with your fans, connect with, you know, but it's like, oh my gosh, my phone is bing, 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 you know, so it's, I can only do so much. So if anyone feels like, and it's not like I got thousands of fans, I think I have like, I don't even know. But you know, I'm trying to keep up. So I can just imagine. And it's because, you know, it's crazy. Musicians like us, we have to create music, so we have to be inspired. So there's that whole thing. Then we have to record it. Then we have to mix it. We have to get it just sounding perfectly right. Then we have to market it. Yeah. Marketing in itself is a whole
totally.
You know, trying to do it here in the house, in the room, wherever you're at, it's utterly insane. And even if I've run a couple of ads just to kind of just
to get an idea,
you know, just test things out.
Yeah.
But still, you know, you get ads and you're like, oh, I like your music, and you know, and you're replying to people, and that you're trying to create a human sense of it, not just because I'm not here to just sell anyone anything. I'm here to get people to say, hey, I like your music, and now it's on I listen to it once in a while, or once or twice, you know, and that's really the point, is because I, you know, not to put an ad for myself, but I really like my music. You know what I mean? I really like it. And I don't know if you know, I put out a video the other day. I'm going to be doing like a double album, and I know it's like,
that's awesome.
Everyone's like,
no, I support it.
Okay, good, because everyone is all of the, you know, music gurus that are on YouTube saying, oh, just give them breadcrumbs and just release a single, and it's like, you know, I have so much material that I want to get out there. I can't, you know, this would be 4 years from now if I release a single every 6 weeks. And trying to market each single. That's crazy. So I am going against the grain of today. Wish me luck, cross my fingers, you know, knock on wood. But I believe in it.
Yeah, and you are, you know, the very fact that you're already talking about it in front of the camera, you're making a huge deal out of it right now, without even putting the effort. The thing is that, and as Ron Schneider is saying, marketing is a dead end for most. It is. It's because it's not an easy thing to do, and nobody, at least out of all of the musicians that I have met so far in my career, ever thought about spending their time learning how to market their stuff. Because we grew up in this industry on which we were expected to be really good at writing music and performing, especially performing, because we got into this market when the collapse of CDs was already starting. So the whole industry was moving into the live thing. But now, when we finally got into the music side and we were good enough to perform live and we had the chops to do it, the whole thing changed once again, because we moved into the Spotify game, which made completely different once again, and we had to reshape the way that we ingrain our brains. So I completely agree with you, but the thing is that we as musicians, we have to come up with a way to interact with people without making it sound like a freaking robot, as you were saying. Yeah, and as Ron Schneider is saying once again, it's easy to buy followers, except for window dressing, because this is not about, and actually even the Spotify algorithm is really good at detecting whenever you're just buying likes, because it would be, they can see that you're just getting something out of nowhere, which is questionable at best.
Well, you know what I do? I don't know if we can talk about technical stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
maybe I will. I won't share too. But basically, if I'll run an ad,
Yeah.
it's just boosting a post. Let's say I'm boosting a post. Me playing my guitar. It's literally, you've probably seen it once or twice. Playing my guitar, and and basically anyone who likes it, I'll go in there and I'll like them. I'll like them back and I'll follow them back. Right. So I'll do that. And basically, and then if there's comments, I'll respond to their comments and I'll check out their profile and I'll see if there's anything cool, like if they're a musician themselves or wherever they live. It's like, oh, hey, I've been there before. And that's, unfortunately, that takes so much time.
It does.
But I think in the long run, it's more meaningful. And then for the people who do like me and I like them back, I'll send them a message.
Totally.
And of course, I'm going to say, hey, here's my new EP, that whole business. And at least I try to soften it up and say, hey, I try to make my intro not so
silly,
copy paste.
Yeah.
Silly, yeah.
Yeah.
And people resonate and people don't. And the only thing I can think to go for is the people who resonate, who give it a shot and they say, hey, I like it. Now, so yes, it's like marketing. Rob Schneider, that's an actor. Ron Schneider. Marketing is dead, and Gary Vee. I watch Gary Vee all the time. You have to hustle. It's so sad, but guys like us, we have to hustle, or we got to pay for marketing to get our stuff out there.
Yeah. So, but I think this is the new rules for the game. So
yeah.
I don't see this as a downer. I think this is more like a new opportunity, because if you think about it, and I think I am recalling something that the Sting said once. We're living in a world where somebody like him would have not been able to make everything that he managed to do. Well, to do everything that he managed to do back in the day, because he didn't have the marketing skills to do it. But now we're living in a world where somebody like us, who have the willingness to do it and are willing to spend the time working on it and learning the ways, we can make it. So in my book, that sounds better than anything else, because what happened, even Sting himself, he's aware that back in the day it was much more a matter of luck rather than a matter of, not only it was talent, of course. This whole thing, even today, it's all about talent, but back in the day it was more about luck, because we didn't have access to the internet. It was impossible to expose yourself to a wider audience. So yeah, exactly. And Ron Schneider is saying once again, it has to be organic. It has to feel like you are having a real conversation with a human being, which is something that most musicians are missing or don't even think about. And once again, I think it's the result of being of shaping the way that you think and your approach to this business from a completely bygone era.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's so funny. One thing that I've been doing is I've been reaching out, or I put an ad out, and it was in Brazil.
Yeah.
So anyone who, my new friends from Brazil, you guys know I'm going crazy translating. It's so funny. So my intro to them is, hey, sorry, I'm using a translator, but blah blah blah.
Good.
And you know what? I have a lot of good connections with people.
That's good.
And I think. And hopefully they like my music, and hopefully they like me. They like my music, and that's really what it's about. Is at the end of the day, I'm nobody, but when someone turns on their Spotify, their Apple Music, or whatever they're listening to, they're gonna be like, "Hey, I really like this."
Yep.
However, I got there. That's what I'm trying to achieve.
Totally.
But I don't buy followers. Definitely not. I just put ads out. I just test out little ads here and there.
Yeah.
And then
because this is a matter of testing stuff and learning from your mistakes. So
I don't want to get my account cut off either.
Exactly. So we have to be careful with that. So, girls and boys, it's been a really amazing conversation, Felix, to say the least, because we spent almost an hour talking,
Definitely.
and it's incredible to be able to even manage to keep people holding their phones like this for this long. So, for all of you girls and boys who stayed with us for this great conversation, I have nothing to say but thank you. And
Thank you.
go straight to Instagram and find Felix on his Instagram account, because he's gonna be outputting really great music in the future. And it's always good to support musicians, but we're not doing it in the ways of the usual old-fashioned early 2000 style. It's not about supporting the local talent. It's about supporting music that means something to you, girls and boys. And this whole point of the Sound Alchemy podcast is, I am bringing people that I like their music first, and secondly, I am bringing people who are passionate about it. It's not because I know that we're here for this is a business after all, okay? But you are not gonna make any profit if you are not committed to it, and also if you don't enjoy what you're doing. So that's the reason this podcast is all about passion about music.
Yeah, one of my things that I always tell people in my sales pitch, not sales pitch, is I say, if you like my music, I hope that you'd add me to your playlist. So, because what you just said, it's not just, oh, I know this guy, I'm going to like him. Okay, that's great. But I would rather you actually take a listen. And if you get to that journey and you say, oh man, I actually do like his music, then add me, follow me, however, but to me, I would rather have more of those people than an inflated number who just don't really like what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, totally. So we get a final comment from Ron Schneider, and thank you, man, for joining us and supporting this conversation, because that's the whole point. That's the reason why we say this thing. Join the conversation. It's an open conversation between us and you, girls and boys. He said that SoundCloud seems to work well with repost exchange, but the quality of the exchange is lower. I'm not familiar with SoundCloud, Ron, to be honest, probably because most of my market, we're rock musicians, and SoundCloud is crowded with people on the electronic side of things, which is great. But I have not that much experience, so if we can talk about that on a later podcast, would be awesome. So, Felix, do you have anything to say as a final thought?
No. No. I think I've exhausted all of my final thoughts. No, anyways, I just wanted to thank you for having me on here, and hopefully I can be interesting to your program and your podcast, and hopefully that someone was able to hear what I had to say and maybe resonate, maybe agree or disagree, however, but at least have an opinion and see where we're coming from, see our struggles, if they care. I don't think anyone cares. I don't think anyone cares how long it takes for us to do what we do. They just want to hear the final product.
Of course.
And that's totally fine. We don't want to bombard anyone with what it really takes, because it takes 100% of what we do, but that's okay. We just want people to hear and like and listen, and that's all.
Yeah. And I would add to get inspired by it, because
yes.
The way that I like to see music is a way to get people inspired, because I think that music has the power to make you feel and make you see into the future and allow you to see what you can become if you put the effort. So with that being said, girls and boys, I have to tell you that we are about to leave, but not before saying this. As every single time that I meet you, girls and boys, I gotta remind you something. Don't let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.
Okay, it was fucking awesome. Yeah, but to be honest, I didn't expect it